Chapter 9. Depression. I define depression as a lack of identity. When you don't know who you are, you feel disjointed and separated. Sadness arises to alert you that something isn't right. Depression lingers not as a signal, but as a vacuum. Consider a dog that has had the same owner for 15 years. The owner is kind and loving, and has the same routine of playing with, petting, and feeding the dog every day. Then the owner dies. The dog will become depressed. The only way it sees itself is through the relationship it has with its owner. We work the same way. Depression is not uncommon. Losing relationships, losing positions in society, like leaving a school, team, or workplace, having a shift in national identity. Maybe your country is overtaken by foreigners, or some admired position of authority is assassinated. These are all things that can wisp our identity away. There is just a high probability that we will all face some form of depression in our lives at one point. Our bodies tell us that depression is something we want to avoid. So how do you come to terms with your depression? The solution to depression is to add identity. A simpler approach would be to make new friends, volunteer, join a club of your interest, or take up a new hobby. Some of these approaches can and will relieve you from depression automatically. If depression persists, there is a deeper existential issue going on that requires deep reflection to resolve. I should note that an alternative solution to depression is the use of psychotropic drugs. There is a belief that drugs can be used to help people with depression. My degree in psychology made me very aware of this approach. I want to make it perfectly clear what these drugs do. They are successful in relieving you of the symptoms of depression, but they do not rid you of depression. The neurochemicals cortisol, when in excess, and serotonin, when scarce, are messengers of depression, not the source of depression. As Buckminster Fuller would say, we have mistaken the telephone for the conversation. Getting rid of the telephone doesn't stop the people from still having something to say. However, there are many people who are in dire situations that can be helped by these drugs, much in the same way that someone can develop chronic pain from an overstimulation of the nervous system. Someone may be breaking down from the struggle of depression. They may not possess the mental, physical, or emotional energy to resolve their depression in a more holistic way. Remember, it's all about balance. If there is a time to numb the useful signal of pain so you can avoid developing chronic pain disorders, then there is also a time to artificially boost your happy chemicals to avoid longer-lasting effects of chronic depression. We find ourselves at a crossroads. When depression arises, we may not be equipped with the knowledge to cope with it. We may try to ignore it or suffer in silence. Ignorance may be bliss for some, but the consequences of ignorance are far from blissful. Society may then offer us a temporary solution through drugs to a problem that requires a more thoughtful solution. You never had a choice about whether you experienced depression. You never had a choice about how hard it was. You never had a choice about society offering you a solution. In this situation, you could only work on yourself or not. That choice will determine how nature will judge you.